Imagine climbing into the cockpit of a P-51 Mustang in the final months of World War II. You've spent months fighting some of the best pilots Germany has to offer. You know the strengths and weaknesses of every enemy aircraft. You know how fast they climb, how tightly they turn, and how to beat them. Then one morning, something completely unfamiliar appears in the distance. It doesn't sound like a piston engine. It doesn't fly like any airplane you've ever seen. Within seconds, it races past your formation at a speed that seems impossible. Before anyone can react, it's gone. For many American pilots in 1944, this was their first encounter with the future. This is the story of how the United States first discovered the world's first operational jet fighter, and how a single aircraft changed military aviation forever. By 1944, the Allies had gained significant control of the skies over Europe. Every day, hundreds of American bombers crossed the English Channel. Their mission was simple: destroy Germany's factories, railroads, oil refineries, and military industry. Protecting those bombers were thousands of fighters. Aircraft like the P-51 Mustang and the P-47 Thunderbolt had become some of the most effective fighters ever built. American pilots believed they had finally gained the upper hand. German aircraft were becoming less common. Fuel shortages limited enemy operations, and experienced Luftwaffe pilots were increasingly difficult to replace. Many believed Germany's air force was nearing collapse. But behind closed factory doors, German engineers were working on something no Allied intelligence fully understood: a weapon unlike anything ever flown before. Years earlier, German engineer Hans von Ohain had developed one of the world's first practical jet engines. Unlike traditional aircraft, jet engines produce thrust by compressing air, mixing it with fuel, and expelling hot exhaust gases at incredible speed. There was no propeller, no spinning blades pulling the airplane forward. Instead, the airplane was literally pushed through the sky. The aircraft built around this revolutionary engine became the Messerschmitt Me 262. On paper, it looked unstoppable. Its top speed exceeded 540 miles per hour. It climbed faster than almost every Allied fighter. Its 430mm cannons could destroy heavy bombers with only a few hits. Later variants even carried air-to-air rockets. For bomber crews, this aircraft represented an entirely new level of danger. The first American combat reports sounded almost unbelievable. Pilots described enemy aircraft that appeared suddenly, crossed their path, and vanished before pursuit was even possible. Some assumed the German aircraft had entered a steep dive. Others blamed optical illusions. After all, nothing powered by a propeller could move that quickly. But intelligence officers kept receiving similar reports again and again. Eventually, Allied reconnaissance photographs confirmed the impossible. Germany had deployed jet fighters. The reports had been true. Although the Me-262 was dramatically faster, it wasn't invincible. Jet engines of the 1940s were extremely unreliable. Many lasted only a few dozen flight hours before requiring replacement. Acceleration was slow, and pilots had to be careful during takeoff and landing. American fighter pilots soon realized something important. They couldn't catch the Me-262 in level flight, but they could attack while it was taking off or landing. Escort fighters began patrolling near known German airfields. Instead of chasing jets in the sky, they waited for the moments when those aircraft were most vulnerable. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Many people assume that revolutionary technology automatically wins wars. History shows otherwise. Germany introduced the Me-262 too late. Factories were under constant Allied bombing. Fuel was critically scarce. Experienced pilots had become increasingly rare. Political interference also slowed production. Adolf H. initially insisted that the Me-262 should serve as a fast bomber rather than purely as a fighter. This decision delayed its operational deployment. By the time significant numbers entered combat, the war's outcome had largely been decided. Meanwhile, back home in America, while American pilots were reporting mysterious jet aircraft over Europe, life back home looked very different. Families gathered around their radios every evening, listening for news from the front and hoping to hear that their loved ones were safe. One of the songs filling American homes during this period was "I'll Be Seeing You," made famous by Bing Crosby. Its emotional lyrics became deeply connected to families separated by the war, reminding millions of soldiers and civilians that they hope to see each other again someday. As that music echoed through living rooms across the United States, thousands of miles away, American pilots were witnessing something that would change aviation forever. Without realizing it, they were watching the beginning of the jet age. When Allied forces captured German airfields in 1945, they found intact Me-262s. American engineers examined every detail: the engines, the wings, the weapons, and the manufacturing methods. Test pilots flew captured aircraft, carefully documenting their performance. Every lesson learned would influence future American jet development. Aircraft like the F-80 Shooting Star and later generations of jet fighters owed much to the knowledge gained from studying German technology. The jet age had officially begun. The Me-262 did not save Germany. It arrived too late. Too few were built. Too many problems remained. But history doesn't remember it because it won the war. History remembers it because it changed aviation forever. For the American pilots who first saw it streak across the skies over Europe, it must have seemed almost impossible. One moment they were fighting the last great war of propeller aircraft. The next, they were staring at the future. And from that day forward, air combat would never be the same.